My name is Light Yagami, and I am justice. And this is... Ting, 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 ting. That was believable, right? Today I'm here to talk to you about a scene that quite literally changed the face of anime. No shonen would ever be the same again. We are talking about the exchange of feet washing between L and Light Yagami in the phenomenal anime known as Death Note. So, I hear you saying, Boku, why are you talking about this? We do not talk about this. We know of it. We appreciate it. We're slightly uncomfortabilized. We are made to be uncomfortable. Uncomfy. The scene makes us all feel a different kind of way, but the same way at the same time. We're all really unsure as to why it's there. It wasn't in the manga, so why did they feel the need to put it in the anime? Well, this is what I'm going to answer today. Death Note was actually recommended to me by a YouTuber at the time who I was really into. His name was Dan Is Not On Fire.
Are you okay?
I'm on fire! Do I look like okay?
He would reference Death Note quite a lot in his videos, and I thought, I love this YouTuber. I really value his opinion, and if he's talking a lot about this anime, maybe I'll give it a watch. So, me, being my little teenage self, I got onto YouTube on my iPod Touch, and I searched for the first episode, and I started watching it. And I was forever changed. That moment when Light Yagami gets home after finding the Death Note on the floor, and he's contemplating everything, and he lays upon his bed with his arm behind his head, and he's looking at the ceiling, contemplating everything. I was in damn love. I was in love with this animated character. I didn't realise you could be in love with animated characters, but you can. You truly can. And from that point on, I was absolutely hooked. I mean, the storyline was also brilliant. I'm not just saying I watched Death Note for the fact that I fancied the pants of Light Yagami, but the story had me really engrossed, and I was watching it and watching it and watching it. And then I got to episode 25. And things changed. The pace changed, I'll tell you that. Okay, so when it comes to this feet washing, drying exchange between the boys, there's really two options that it could possibly be. One being it's a simple fan service, and that would make so much sense because we all shipped L and Light together, so it would make sense that they would put that in for our own enjoyment. And the second one would be that there is a deeper meaning. There is a great connection to so many things. I mean, it would make sense because there is a lot of correlation between Death Note and biblical, God, all of those references. So it would make sense if it was there for a deeper meaning, but I'm just not sure. So that's why I've looked into it. Starting with the sexier option of the two, we'll look into fan service. Now, for some of you who may not know what fan service is, it basically refers to anything that is placed into an anime to excite or titillate the viewer. This usually includes things like scantily clad outfits, cleavage shots, panty shots, and those nude scenes, which are usually when our protagonist goes into the shower or when the group of friends all take a trip to the hot springs.
人のあれこれから学び直せ。
But there are some broader definitions of it, which can include things like cool mecha, big battles, or explosions. But basically the outline is it's anything that's put into an anime to make us sit up and pay more attention and excite us as a viewer. Now segueing into typically female-orientated fan service, this usually includes things like bi-shonen characters, the implications of a homosexual relationship or built up tension.
Thanks, you were a lifesaver.
It's no biggie. To be honest with you, I'm actually pretty fond of you, man.
Are you gay?
Hell no!
Or just the classic of men walking around shirtless for no reason.
Man, 70,000 jewel a month is dirt cheap for a place like this. You totally scored, Lucy.
Intruder alert! No stripping in my house, buddy!
Hey, give me a minute to explain, would ya? I was naked when I got here.
So it would make sense if they had put this scene in for fan service. I mean, look, you've got your protagonist and your antagonist, two of which you have some incredible tension out of a lot of anime, and of course we all ship them. It's obvious, it's what we do, we're humans. And then for them to put in that scene, which is so intimate and weird and loving and creepy, could be seen as a way to entertain us. I mean, we were all aghast when it happened. We all sat there like, oh, I'm not sure, but I am. I'm not, but I know it turned you on slightly. I know you're a creep. I know you were a weirdo. I know you liked it, because I did. So it would make sense if that was the purpose of the scene. But that isn't the only option here. Now, the second option is that this scene does have a greater meaning, and it would make sense. Because the anime does have a lot of connections to Japanese mythology, biblical texts, and all things God. From the beginning of the episode, we are set up in a really strange atmosphere. We know something's going to happen. Something's going to happen that we are not going to like. And we know it's to do with L. We get to see his past for the first time. And we hear those church bells that are really haunting and creepy. And you get to hear those again throughout the episode. L himself can hear them. He knows something's going to happen. We know something's going to happen. And nobody is happy about it. Later in the episode, we get that really interesting scene where El is standing on the rooftop and the rain is pouring on him, and he can hear those church bells again, and he's contemplating things, and he's having a real personal moment. And guess who shows up? Kira, Light Yagami himself, has to come and ruin the party. He walks out there and he sees El standing there, clearly having a moment, and he's like, "What are you doing, Ryuzaki?" And El's like, and then Light's like, "What are you doing, Ryuzaki?" And El's like, "Bitch, what?" Then Light has to enter into the rainstorm. And boy, it may have been wet, but I was hot. These two boys in the pouring rain talking about their feelings? I didn't deserve it. It was all emotional and all very beautiful until El asks Light the penultimate question.
Tell me, Light, from the moment you were born, has there ever been a point where you've actually told the truth?
And I was like, bitch! These questions, that was so intense. How did my boy Ryuzaki just one time, 180, come around and ask Light that question after they had a little chuckle, a little lovey time in the rain? This is how you know that L is a true boss. He knows exactly what Light's gonna do to him. He knows that Light is Kira. He knows he is gonna die in X amount of hours. So he is gonna have that last word. He is gonna be the one to question him on his morals. He wants to know how exactly Light will answer that question, knowing that his life is coming to an end. And of course, in true Light style, he philosophizes about the whole concept of truth and the whole concept of lying. He's like, oh, well, I strive to tell the truth, but of course I have to lie. Everybody has to lie. And then L has the best line ever. I thought you would say that. And at that point, El might as well be just bitch slap Light right off the roof, because he had absolutely pissed on him. He had owned him in that one moment, and it was beautiful. It was gorgeous. Now I know what you're thinking. Boku, this is all very entertaining, but where is the connection? Well, I will give you a connection. You might have heard of these two blokes before. If you ever picked up your Bible or been to your local church. One guy named Jesus and one guy named Judas. Yes, very similar names, very different people, very different intentions. So in case you've been missing your weekly Bible study, Judas is the guy that betrayed Jesus and that caused Jesus to die and have to go on the cross. Judas sold Jesus out to the king, I believe, and then he had to...
5 minutes later.
Jesus...
One hour later.
Judas sold out my boy Jesus. That's the bottom line here. Before Jesus was hung out to dry on the cross, there was a thing called the Last Supper, and that's where Jesus and all of his disciples, sat down, had something to eat, a little drink, a little chewing of the fat, making conversation. And one conversation that happened was between Jesus and Judas himself. And this conversation was along the lines of trust and loyalty and forgiveness. It was basically along the lines of Jesus saying he would forgive all the wrongdoings. He was willing to be sacrificed to atone for the sins of other people. People being Judas. So this is an interesting conversation to have between Light and L. Okay, I'm really thumbing it in here, but you could say that the conversation that Elle and Light have on the rainy rooftop can parallel the conversation that Judas and Jesus had at the Last Supper. Now, we have the scene of the feet washing, massaging, drying, playtime, the feet play. And I know what you're thinking. There's no possible way this could have anything to do with anything. That's where you'd be wrong, because our boys Jesus and Judas come into play again. Now what we're being served is Elle washing / caressing / drying Light's feet. And at this point, Light is as uncomfortable as the rest of us are. To which Elle says,
Look, it's fine. You don't have to do that. I can give you a massage as well. It's the least I can do to atone for my sins. I'm actually pretty good at this.
There's loads of theories as to why Elle is doing this and why Elle says that. It could be that he is worshipping Light as Kira. Or it could be that he has accepted him as the god of the new world. But the thing is, we're here trying to squeeze Bible references in, and my favourite comes at this. In the Bible, it states that Jesus washed the feet of his disciples at the Last Supper, and this included my boy Judas. Jesus did this to basically show that he was not above or greater than anyone, including Judas, who was quite obviously a sinner. Therefore, Elle saying that he is doing it to atone for his sins is a way of him accepting Light's sins himself. And the washing of the feet shows that even though Elle is considered the good guy and Light is the bad guy, Elle still sees them as equals. So there's the potential that Elle does this to show that him and Light are one in the same. But obviously, Light is much more of a murderer. Okay, let's do it. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty of the situation. What is my opinion? The only opinion that matters. And you're not gonna like it, but I don't think it has a greater meaning. I really don't. I mean, don't get me wrong, Death Note is brilliant at creating connections between Japanese mythology and religion. But on this occasion, it's gonna be a no from me. This is clearly fan service. I mean, okay, look, it wasn't in the manga, but they've put it in the anime. And the way in which it's done is very tense. There is a great deal of tension, and it is a little bit sexy. Okay, don't get me wrong, I'm not into a foot fetish, but regardless of it being feet, it was a really intimate moment between these two boys that many of us have shipped for a long time. So for me, personally, I see this as a fan service to titillate me, to titillate you, to titillate everyone. and to give us that implication of the homosexual tension that we all crave so much. Alright, don't get me wrong, I don't think it's straight up yaoi, but I do think it's there just to make us happy. Well, that's it, that's my opinion. I would love to hear what you think down in the comments. Please fight me. I love it. I love the interaction. It riles me up. I have been Buckwheat. You have been the other person on the other side of the screen. And this has been the most enlightening, the most enriching, the most knowledgeable and philosophical video you have seen in years. And I will see you in the next one. Judas, my new favourite ship. My OTP, Judas. Anyways.